going to be. Over there. All right. In the captain's chair.
That's right.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good.
Right.
How are you?
A little wet. She's from Chris.
Yeah, it's a party back there. What can we say?
A lot of sandwiches.
So we have a new model that's coming out here. Actually, it's coming out this week. And this is the Volsung. So tell us a little bit about what went into this, buddy.
A lot of Danish camo. It's Danish camo. Well, this is kind of like my dream guitar, I guess you could say. I've been playing the kind of SG shape for, I don't know, 15 years now, because I got a bad back. That's the truth of it. And then, but it's got like, the pickups I kind of like. It sound a lot like Dirty Fingers. Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of overwhelmed, because I've never had my own guitar before in my entire fucking life. Can you say fuck?
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know what else I got to add, Chris.
Right on. Well, let me tell you, like, one of the things that we did on this guitar, so everybody knows, it's an extra thin body, it's extra light. It's the only way you're going to get these pickups is on this guitar. They're custom made just for him from Seymour Duncan. And this guitar is just bitchin'. It really is. It's just a great bang for the buck. And I was just stoked that when Lars was recording the new Rancid record, these guitars are all over that record. And he was posting all online, Instagramming everything, and it's just great. And for a guy, in my opinion, who's the last of the great punk rockers to actually turn around and actually work with the company, that's awesome in itself.
I'm honored.
So, well, tell us what's going on with you right now, dude.
Oh, we just finished up the 9th Rancid record, so that's done.
Yeah.
So that should be out this year.
Yes.
I got a few other bands I play in. So going on tour this summer in Europe, here in the States, going to South America. First time, never been to South America before.
Yeah.
Which should be cool.
And who are you playing with down there?
Metallica. Metallica fucking rules. And they're so good. We played with them back in '96 on the Lollapalooza, and they're a great band. And they're Bay Area guys, you know what I mean? And we're Bay Area guys. So we're excited about it for sure,
What are all the other bands that you're in, man?
I'm in a band called the Old Firm Casuals. Obviously did Lars Frederiksen and the Bastards for about 5 years. I'm in a German band called Stomper 98. I'm in a band out of Phoenix called Oxley's Midnight Runners. Mostly punk and oi stuff, the stuff I love, stuff I grew up listening to. But if AC/DC's looking for a lead singer, I'll try that. Heard the paycheck's pretty good.
Yeah, man, and it's funny because we have a mutual friend, and that's how this relationship all started. Because we have a friend named Brian Butler. He has this little studio called Arcade Recording out in Chandler, about 5 minutes from my house. And that's how we all kind of got in touch with each other, was through Bud. And by the way, for the record, he is the fattest vegetarian ever.
Fuck you, Butler. He is the fattest vegetarian. You can't, if you're a vegetarian, you can't be fat. Unless like you're eating cheese like every meal, you know what I mean? And like not like a little cheese, but a lot of cheese. Like, you know what I mean? Any vegetarians here? Come here, let me see the size of you. Turn to the side.
Skinny as hell.
Oh yeah, it's skinny. See? You know what I mean?
Fuck you, Butler.
Fuck you, Butler. Now Butler hooked me up with this guy because I wanted to get some different kinds of guitars. I wanted to get a Flying V because I never had a Flying V. My brother had a Flying V that I've now inherited. It's like a 1981 or 82 something. So I called this guy, and that's how we started the communication. And then I ended up getting Millie from Creators Flying V.
Yeah.
That thing's sick. And then I got a Jeff Hanneman guitar because I love Slayer. Who doesn't like Slayer? If you don't like Slayer, leave. You know what I mean?
That's actually a funny story. Speaking of the Bay Area, Gary Holt once told me a great story back before, obviously, when it was just an Exodus, and Slayer went up to the Bay Area to open up for Exodus. And Paul Bailoff and him, they met Slayer for the first time, and they all had like hairspray, and they were wearing like fancy like red leather pants and stuff. And Bailoff and Holt went up to Tom and Kerry and said, "Listen, man, you guys are pretty damn good, but if you come up to the Bay Area looking like an LA sissy again, we're gonna kick your ass." And Lars said, or not, Tom Araya said that the next day they went home and changed their image. It's like, those guys were scary as shit.
Yeah. Well, Slayer was like the scariest band you ever could see at that time. I mean, sans the makeup, I guess, but no, but I saw Slayer back in the 80s. I saw Exodus back in the 80s because Ruthie's Inn was in Berkeley. And so then the thrash thing was happening and the punk thing was happening and they would be at the same club. So sometimes they'd cross over, you know, so you'd see bands like Exodus or Forbidden or Violence, a lot of those thrash bands. But, you know, you go there for the punk, and then a lot of the crossovers started to happen. A lot of the English punk bands started getting more thrashy, like Broken Bones or The Exploited or whatever, you know what I mean? But GBH even, you know, went that route. So, but yeah, I mean, you know, there's always been that connection. Plus, being from the Bay Area, you know, it's a lot more. It's not like at Los Angeles, you know what I mean? It's a lot more gritty, you know, and it's real working class, especially in Oakland and Berkeley and where I'm from in Campbell, and San Francisco is not so much working class anymore. It's a lot more yuppies and entitled little millennials, but that's another story. I'm sure there's a meeting around here for that. But you know, it's you know, the world changes, whatever. But at that time in the Bay Area, I mean, Oakland was a lot like Detroit. Honestly, I mean, you know, we were the murder capital of the world for a long time, and proud of it. So, but you know, I'm not trying to make light or whatever of the situation, but yeah, I mean, it was a pretty hardcore place to be from, and if you were going to be around in that scene, either one of them, you had to, you know, hold your own. You know what I mean? So, you had to hold your own.
Right on. So, one thing we wanted to do, rather than just coming up here and just, you know, playing guitar riffs and stuff like that, we really wanted to make this more of an interaction. So, please, this is open up to questions from you guys as well. So, who's got any questions for Lars?
Yes, vegetarian.
Any chance of any bastard stuff?
I'm never gonna say, every time I say no, never, I end up fucking doing it, so I'm not gonna say anything. I'll just plead the fifth on that one. I mean, it's come in my head when Big J, the bass player, had cancer, and so what we were gonna reform and give him all the money, you know, that we would come out, but then I thought, how can I have a guy on tour going through chemo, you know what I mean, on a tour bus for months, you know, that's not fair. So that was the closest we've gotten with that, you know.
I've actually done that. Yeah. My old drummer was going through chemo on tour in '99. It was fucking rough.
Yeah, see, that sounds gnarly, you know what I mean? You know, and I just thought, I didn't feel like, you know, I could do that to a friend, you know what I mean? So, but it's come close, it's been talked about, but right now, like, the Old Firm Casuals for me is kind of what I wanted the Bastards to be. The Bastards took its own shape and became something, you know, it was basically me and Tim, you know, it was me and Tim, you know, and kind of what our vision was other than Rancid. And it was fun for where it went, but it kind of had run its course for that time. And it just, for me, you know, it's not that I'm not satisfied and I go out and start other bands, it's just I don't know what else to do. You know what I mean? I don't have a college education, I'm a 10th grade dropout. You know, my vocabulary comes from comic books. So that's why it's very good. And, but yeah, I mean, you know, to answer your question, it could happen, but if I was a betting man, I wouldn't bet. Yes, Ginger.
What are some of the songs that made you want to play guitar?
What were some of the songs that made him want to play guitar?
Shock Me by Kiss.
Yeah.
Because I'm an Ace guy. Jailbreak by AC/DC. Alternative Ulsters, Stiff Little Fingers. Suburban Rebels by The Business. That's the Ramones. I Want to Be Sedated. I loved that way that the riffing is a dun dun dun, because that's hard to do because he's kind of palm muting that riff. You know what I mean? And it's also all downstrokes. You know what I mean? Downstrokes. But that's how I learned. But I was a lonely kid. You know? Being punk rock in like 1980, you didn't have any fucking friends. My friends were like pro wrestling that was on TV. That was my friends, you know, in my record collection. But yeah, I mean, there's so many songs. But I would say, I mean, the first band I ever heard was Kiss when I was 4 or 5 years old. And then AC/DC was kind of, like Kiss is, for me, like my kids are into Kiss. And I was talking to a friend, I said, Kiss is like the gateway drug. It's like marijuana. Like once they discover Kiss, then the natural progression is like AC/DC, and then it's Sabbath. Like my 5-year-old came home one day and he's like, I'm like, what song is that? Why do I know that song? And he's like, all right now. I'm like, that's fucking Black Sabbath. When the fuck is he listening to Black Sabbath? And I went to the babysitter, you know, I'm like, are you playing Black Sabbath for Soren? And she's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, it's cool. It's cool. Because, I mean, you remembered the riff, you know? But, Sabbath, like, you know, but Minor Threat was another band I loved. Any punk band you could throw at me wanted me to play. That was the thing about punk rock, because I didn't actually pick up the guitar for real for the first time until I was like 16. You know, and I think that, like, because I went to punk shows, there was no separation between you and the band. You and the band were the same people, because they were the same kids that you grew up with, and you're just now going to watch them. And I grew up in project housing, so I never had any money for a guitar, you know. And I got my first guitar. It was like this Les Paul Special, and it belonged to some dude in the Purple People Eaters, some band. And it was a purple Les Paul, and it's actually the smashed guitar that's on the cover of the Roots Radical single. But there's a guy named Simon Woodstock who later became a pro skateboarder. We grew up together, and I did his paper route for like a month and a half, and I earned like $130. And Simon never picked up this guitar, and I said, well, I'll give you the $130 for that guitar. And he said, cool. And that's how I got my first guitar. And it was a shitty Les Paul Special, purple. It was fucking purple. You know what I mean? And I thought it was tight. You know what I mean? I thought it was like, because it's my first guitar, and then I ended up smashing it, but because I got a new one for my birthday from my band. Like every one of the guitars I've ever owned, like besides the first one, like my Bird's Eye Maple Epiphone and the guitars I used to play with Rancid before I became an ESP official artist. But like a lot of those guitars were given to me by my band because my guitars were so shitty. You know, I'd be like, dude, you gotta, here's something better, you know? But, I just kind of worked with what I worked with. I've never used effects pedals, and I always liked bands that sounded raw and sound like AC/DC or a lot of the punk bands. They were raw. It was, there was no bullshit. There was no Emerson, Lake and Palmer. That was not what touched me. It was like fast, heavy, aggressive music because that's where I came from. A fast, heavy, aggressive place. So, hope that answers your question.
Questions?
Yes.
How long have you known CM Punk? And how did you guys meet?
CM Punk. Yeah. On the Bastards tour, 2005 Warped Tour, a friend of mine, he was the sound guy for a band called AFI, and I'm a huge wrestling fan. Like I love pro wrestling. Like I said, my friends when I was kids was like, a WCW championship Saturday night, when it was still called the NWA. And then USA Network had, this is not a wrestling conference. Although I really want it to be. But, so, he said, do you know CM Punk? And I said, yeah, because I watched him on the indies, because I'm a wrestling nerd, right? So, and I'd seen him, he was wrestling, I think, for either Ring of Honor or IWA Mid-South at the time. And he's like, I was walking up the ramp, I was walking down the ramp, and he was walking up the ramp, and he goes, you're Lars Frederiksen. And I said, you're CM Punk. And we just started talking, and I said, well, what are you doing for the next couple days? He's like, just chilling. I think it was like in Philly or something. So come with us and sell our merch. And he's like, cool. So for 3 days he was my merch bitch. Showed him who's boss. But then he went his way, joined the WWE, of course, or WWF. I still refer to it as, but and then we just kept in touch, and now he's like one of my best friends. And he's the real deal. He's really fucking straight edge. He's the real deal. There's no gimmick about him. What he is on the screen is what he is in real life. You know what I mean? And it's I would dare to say, that's an inspiration to me. You know what I mean? Because I just kind of showed up today. I don't have a handler. You know what I mean? I just come. Hey Chris, how do I get my pass? You know what I mean? Can you meet me? Where's the bathroom? You know what I mean? I'm a pretty simple dude. Like Leonard Skinner.
It's funny you mentioned that, because Matt Bloom,
Yeah.
The wrestler,
Yeah.
he was at my wedding.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
That was a weird one. I'm short as hell, and you have a 6'8", 355 dude in the wedding, like walking in front of everybody. It's like, I don't even exist.
Yeah, but Punk's a Cubs fan, so he's pretty stoked.
Oh,
Go Cubs!
Ah, boo, go A's. A's.
Right there.
Yes.
No, he was first.
1 second.
Can you tell us about your time in UK subs?
Yeah, it was a very brief time. I was 19. UK Subs were one of those bands that I had heard and I loved. They were our band in 1976. So I was like 5, when they first started. And then I met them at this show where one of my other bands were doing a UK Subs cover. And they had played a matinee show at another club, and they had come down to check out this all-day punk fest. And basically, we did Organized Crime, which was one of their songs, and Charlie had seen this, and basically, I ended up in the band. And I did speed all night, I'm sorry. Earmuffs for the small children. And I don't do that anymore, as you can tell. But and I got this letter on my birthday. I was 19, I think, and it's basically said, "You're in the band. Get yourself a plane ticket and come over here." And I went and got a job at Togo's for like 4 weeks. Earned enough money to get, bought a plane ticket was $400, and I just packed all my belongings and went, and was basically straight out on tour. We did a UK tour with just the Subs, and we did a tour with Discharge, and then I was shortly handed my walking papers around Christmas time because I was 19 and I drank a lot, and which I don't advise unless you can do it. I can't do it personally. So our departure was mutual to some degree.